Within Freemasonry there are many rituals. Contrary to what conspiracy theorists may believe, they are not satanic rituals. In greater detail, candidates for regular Freemasonry are required to declare a belief in a supreme being. However, the candidate is not asked to expand on, or explain, his interpretation of supreme being. The discussion of politics and religion is forbidden within a Masonic lodge, in part so a Mason will not be placed in the situation of having to justify his personal interpretation. Thus, reference to the Supreme Being will mean the Christian Trinity to a Christian Mason, Allah to a Muslim Mason, Para-Brahman to a Hindu Mason, and so forth. While most Freemasons would take the view that the term Supreme Being equates to God, others may hold a more complex or philosophical interpretation of the term. In the ritual, the Supreme Being is referred to as the Great Architect of the Universe, which alludes to the use of architectural symbolism within Freemasonry. Masons conduct their meetings using a ritualized format. There is no single Masonic ritual, and each jurisdiction is free to set or not set its own ritual. However, there are similarities that exist among jurisdictions. For example, all Masonic ritual makes use of the architectural symbolism of the tools of the medieval operative stonemason. Freemasons, as speculative Masons meaning philosophical building rather than actual building, used this symbolism to teach moral and ethical lessons of the principles of brotherly love, relief, and truth, or as related in France, liberty, equality, fraternity. Two of the principal symbolic tools always found in a lodge are the square and compasses. Some lodges and rituals explain these tools as lessons in conduct, for example, that Masons should square their actions by the square of virtue and to learn to circumscribe their desires and keep their passions within due bounds toward all mankind. However, as Freemasonry is non-dogmatic, there is no general interpretation for these tools or any Masonic emblem that is used by Freemasonry as a whole. These moral lessons are communicated in performance of allegorical ritual. A candidate progresses through degrees gaining knowledge and understanding of himself, his relationship with others and his relationship with the Supreme Being per his own interpretation. While the philosophical aspects of Freemasonry tend to be discussed in lodges of instruction or research, and sometimes in formal groups, Freemasons and others frequently publish, with varying degrees of competence, studies that are available to the public. Any Mason may speculate on the symbols and purpose of Freemasonry, and indeed all Masons are required to some extent to speculate on Masonic meaning as a condition of advancing through the degrees. There is no one accepted meaning, and no one person speaks for the whole of Freemasonry. Some lodges make use of tracing boards. These are painted or printed illustrations depicting the various symbolic emblems of Freemasonry. They can be used as teaching aids during the lectures that follow each of the 3 degrees, when an experienced member explains the various concepts of Freemasonry to new members. They can also be used by experienced members as self-reminders of the concepts they learned as they went through their initiations. Freemasons use signs, gestures, grips or tokens, that is, handshakes and words to gain admission to meetings and identify legitimate visitors. From the early 18th century onwards, many exposés have been written claiming to reveal these signs, grips and passwords to the uninitiated. A classic response was deliberately to transpose certain words in the ritual, so as to catch out anyone relying on the exposé. However, since each Grand Lodge is free to create its own rituals, the signs, grips and passwords can and do differ from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Furthermore, Grand Lodges can and do change their rituals periodically, updating the language used, adding or omitting sections. Therefore, any exposé can only be valid for a particular jurisdiction at a particular time, and is always difficult for an outsider to verify. Today, an unknown visitor may be required to produce a certificate, dues card or other documentation of membership in addition to demonstrating knowledge of the signs, grips and passwords. In conclusion, it's true Freemasonry does have its rituals. However, there isn't anything satanic about them. Freemasonry explicitly and openly states that it is neither a religion nor a substitute for one. There is no separate Masonic god, nor a separate proper name for a deity in any branch of Freemasonry. Freemasonry requires that its candidates believe in a supreme being, but the interpretation of this term is subject to the conscience of the candidate. Consequently, Freemasonry accepts men from a range of faiths, including but not limited to Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and Sikhism. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.